Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the From That Sideline podcast with Francis.
And Peter. And today we got a big week in both football worlds. So we're going to start off by talking about the conference championships and our picks for most of the games. And then we're going to, do a little debate for that. And then we're going to move into NFL, talk about the Broncos' recent success, the Seahawks' not recent success. And then we're just going to play our game, and then we're probably going to wrap up the episode. Thank you guys for listening, and make sure to follow us on Spotify and follow our new social medias for our club. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we have a sports journalism club at our school, Seattle Academy, and the TikTok page is sportsjournal.sa, and the Instagram, I think, is the same. So we just posted another interview because our school's girls soccer team just won state championships. So let's get right into this episode. All right, Peter, let's start off with our own UW Huskies versus Oregon in the Pac-12 Championship. So just give me some thoughts that you have about this game.
Oh, boy, do I have a lot to say here. I mean, personally, it's just I find it so disrespectful that the Huskies are a 9.5-point underdog and that everybody is saying Oregon's going to blow us out. Like, I have friends who are Husky fans. They're like, Oregon's going to blow us out. Oregon's going to blow us out. But they're just listening to the media, and they're just watching box scores. Like, they don't actually watch the games. Everybody has seen that, Penix, he has been a little lackluster lately. But even in, their cupcake games, and he's not necessarily giving it his all. The Huskies are a great team, and they find a way to win games no matter what. That's what makes them a great team. We saw it against Oregon, even though people are like, oh, Oregon totally deserved to win that game because they outgained the Huskies. But Washington literally was stopped at the goal line, at the 1-yard line, and didn't score at all. They were in control. They were up 12. They could have easily just pulled away, but they let it slip away from them a little. But then Penix has that clutch ability to go out and win the game at the end of the game, or go out and win games, which Bo Nix does not have. He's a far worse quarterback. I don't care if his stats are good because he just checks the ball down to Bucky Irving, who is actually a very great player. So is Troy Franklin. Oregon offense has great weapons. But Bo Nix he's not a good quarterback, and he can't go out and win a game like that for you because he doesn't do anything remarkable. He just, he makes the right reads. I can give him that, but he does not do anything extraordinary. He doesn't have a great deep ball. He's not clutch, and he's just put in such a good position against bad teams. So that's why Oregon beats up on them so much. Oregon hasn't proved anything against an actual good team. Oregon State is not good. The Huskies were up 22-10 at halftime, and they let it slip away from them a little at the end of the game, but obviously they're still going to win because they're a good team. Oregon just blows bad teams out, and that's why everyone thinks they're good, but they forget that the Huskies literally beat Oregon. And people are saying, oh, it's away. Do you guys realize how close Eugene and Seattle are? It's like a 4 or 5 hour drive. I know it's a long drive, but lots of Oregon fans make the trip up. Lots of Oregon fans live in Seattle. There was a lot of Oregon fans at the game from my personal experience. And it's just disrespectful. This Washington offense has not been playing up to par recently, but for this game, you already know they're going to lock in. They have the second best receiver in the country, debatably the best receiver in the nation right now, Rome Odunze. And his chemistry with Penix on that back shoulder football is just, it's a work of art, and it's so beautiful. And Bo Nix just does not have that with anyone on his team because he doesn't have that dog in him. So I think the Huskies are going to shock everyone, and I'm just so excited to see what the doubters say after this game. It's just flat out disrespectful. What are your thoughts, Francis?
Yeah, I completely agree with pretty much everything Peter just said. I too just find it disrespectful that I've only seen one person on social media say that they think Washington will win this game, which I just find utterly disrespectful when we literally beat them in the regular season. So I don't know where all this hatred is coming from. And like Peter said, a 9.5 point spread for the Oregon Ducks here is absolutely insane to me. Like, when I look at the Oregon team, I don't see anything special whatsoever. When I look at the Washington Huskies football team, I see generational talent. I see the best Washington Huskies team in the school's history, pretty much. especially the offense. We have the best wide receiver core in the nation. And like Peter said, Roman Dunes is playing like the best wide receiver in the nation right now. And people forget we didn't even have Jalen McMillan, our true wide receiver, too, when he played Oregon the first time. And we're gonna have yet another weapon. Dylan Johnson has evolved much more. Honestly, at this point, I mean, it's crazy to say, but I honestly, personally think that Dylan Johnson and Bucky Irving are like on similar levels of play right now. So, I mean, Dylan Johnson really has evolved over the latter end of this season. We're going to have McMillan back. We're going to have 4 elite weapons that Michael Penix can throw to. And we forget that Michael Penix also used to be a dual-threat quarterback. He can make plays with his legs as well.
He did in the Wazoo game.
Exactly, yeah, he did in the Wazoo game. And our defense looked pretty solid against Wazoo, even though I know they're not a good team, but like it looked pretty good. And I think, yeah, like Peter said, we definitely are going to lock in on this game. I'm just excited to watch this game. It's going to be a real shootout. Both defenses really aren't that great, but I mean, I just don't get what people see in Bo Nix. He's only had 20 pass attempts over 20 yards this season, and they've all been to Troy Franklin. So there's really nothing special when it comes to Bo Nix.
Just wanted to add one last thing here. Everybody hates on the Washington defense, especially because of that USC game, which was, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, it was brutal, it was bad. But recently they've been able to find themselves. They did give up 21 points to Wazoo, but people don't understand, they were on the field. The Wazoo offense was on the field like the entire game, and the defense did a great job holding them and stopping possessions, forcing punts. They did a wonderful job, but people don't realize that. They just listen to what the media says. But, I mean, I don't really know what they can say after the game on Friday. I'm confident in a Husky W. I agree, Dylan Johnson's an absolute stud. He's evolved. He's gotten really comfortable in this offense throughout the season, and I feel like this game is going to be the culmination of the Huskies' offense, and they're just going to come out firing.
Yeah, it's going to be really disappointing if we do lose this game. This is the first time we've been undefeated in the regular season ever. And also, it's the first time we've been undefeated in the regular season since like the playoffs got introduced. So that's what I meant to say, not ever, because we were undefeated at some point back in the 90s. But
Steve Edmond.
Yeah, but since the playoffs were introduced, we haven't been undefeated. Like when we made the playoffs in 2016, I think we were 10-1, and we were the 4th seed, and now we're the 3rd seed at 11-0. And I mean, if we lose this game to Oregon here, it's gonna be it's gonna be a successful season. And I mean, we played our butts off this whole season, but I mean, we've narrowly escaped a lot of games, especially against teams that really aren't as good as us, and it should not have been that close. Arizona State, even Arizona, USC, Wazoo, like they were all one-score games, and it should not have been that close. But I mean, we've narrowly escaped all those games for a reason, and that's why I believe that we are going to beat Oregon. And honestly, I think we can beat them by more than 2 scores this game if we really lock in, because Oregon has a lot of holes in the game, and the UW offense really right now is looking pretty flawless. So we'll see what happens, but I got UW winning by 10 points against Oregon on Friday. What about you, Peter?
I'm going to go UW 35-21.
35-21, wow. All right, you heard it here first.
Wait, actually, I'm going to change that to 35-24. I think Oregon's going to sneak a field goal in there.
Yeah, they can sneak one in there. Moving on to more college football. I have a little hypothetical question here for Peter. I'll talk about it too. But okay, let's say that Florida State loses to Louisville, Alabama beats Georgia, and Texas beats Oklahoma State. So in that scenario, who would you have as your 4 seed, Texas or Alabama?
The easy answer here is Texas. I know Georgia is supposedly the best team in the nation, which is very well true, I believe. It's them or Michigan, but they're a great team. But you just cannot Texas has that 10-point road win against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. You just can't forget about that. You can't disrespect head-to-head. You can see the College Football Playoff Committee is respecting it right now with having Washington over Oregon, even though Oregon is 9.5-point favorites in that game because of that regular season win. And it's even bigger of a win for Texas because it's a 10-point road win. 10 points. UW beat Oregon by 3 at home, which is kind of an Oregon fan statement, but whatever. That's probably one of the best wins in the nation, the second best. Obviously, Ohio State and Michigan. Going into Tuscaloosa, that humongous Bryant-Denny Stadium, and winning early in the season, you just can't. And it's not like Texas has fallen off since then. They just absolutely destroyed Texas Tech. I mean, you got to go with them there. It's not even a debate for me.
Well, it's obviously a debate for me because I have the other option here. I have Alabama here. A key phrase that Peter just said there is early in the season, and Alabama, because that was one of the first games of the season, maybe the second week, I think. But Alabama since then, in the last 9 weeks, has really, really evolved and progressed. Jalen Milroe is looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the nation right now. Honestly, I have him in the Heisman contention, but he's not going to make it as a finalist, but he looks like a Heisman right now. He looks like a Heisman candidate. And next year, I believe he has a really good shot at the Heisman Trophy. Alabama, their defense looks amazing. And their offense, they don't have that many weapons, but neither does Texas. But I just like Jalen Milroe has progressed so much over the season that I think they will defeat Georgia, honestly. And since Georgia is, to me, easily the number one team in the nation over Michigan, and it's really not that close. Georgia has the least amount of holes in their team by far, if any. If not, they have only 0 or actually Carson Beck is a pretty average quarterback. But Georgia has almost no flaws in their game, and if Alabama can beat them, I think they should definitely get the number 4 seed over Texas, because Texas is, again, they're in the Big 12. Alabama's in the SEC, a much harder conference. They've had to play much harder competition. And, yeah, I know Texas beat Alabama in a game, which statistically should give them the tiebreaker. But if we're really talking about which team deserves it, Alabama needs to be the number 4 seed in this scenario.
I mean, I just flat out disagree. The College Football Playoff Committee has shown time and time again that they respect head-to-head matchups, especially if it's a road win and almost a blowout. I know it's a 10-point win, but it's almost a blowout. You just you can't say that a team is better than another team if they have a definite win. If the team that you're saying is worse has a definite win over them, you can't argue that. And the College Football Committee clearly agrees with this, with Washington and Oregon and many others instances of this in the past. And they're just not gonna put Alabama over Georgia or over Texas, even though Georgia is a big win. It's just not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, if you watch that game, which I did, I watched it live the whole time. The Texas-Alabama game, it wasn't even a blowout or a definite win. Texas only went up by 2 scores, and late in the fourth quarter, they only got away from them. But it was a close game the whole time, and Alabama was in it the whole time. But Quinn Ewers just looked like the better quarterback, and that was just flat out. That was just the end of the conversation on why they won the game. But like I said, Jalen Milroe has looked so good that I believe they defeat Georgia. And if you beat the number 1 team in the nation, I think you should be in the top 4 conversation. And I think you should be in the top 4, definitively. Texas just being in the Big 12 really hurts them a lot. They just don't have a lot of weapons. It's just really Quinn Ewers out there. Alabama is just really stacked. Obviously, they have really good scouting and one of the best head coaches in college football history. It's just Alabama's the only answer for me here.
All right, guys, we're going to be moving on after that little debate there. Got a little heated. But we're not going to talk about any of the other championship games. I mean, they all have a clear favorite. Mm-hmm. Florida State, Michigan, and then I guess those are the only 2 we didn't talk about. But so moving on there, we're going to be talking about the NFL. Specifically, we're going to start off with the Denver Broncos and their recent success. Russell Wilson, what are your thoughts on him? He's just really proved himself.
Yeah, even when they were losing and they started out 1-5, he still was statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. When you look at him, you think about last season and how poorly he played, and the season before that on the Seahawks when he came back from injury and how poorly he played. And then you just forget that he's still an elite quarterback in the NFL, and which is why the Broncos paid him so much money. he's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, and it's not really close. I mean, he's making an insane offense out of. He's making Cortland Sutton look like a top 8 wide receiver in the NFL right now, which he's really not. I mean, Cortland Sutton, you've obviously seen he's made some amazing catches in the end zone. He's made some amazing plays, but Cortland Sutton really just isn't a top 10 wide receiver. But Russell Wilson really is making him look like that. He's utilizing Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Greg Dulcich. He's making them look like a top 5 offense in the NFL. And the defense really has helped them a lot as well. I mean, they only held the Chiefs to 9 points. They defeated some really good teams. They defeated the Bills, the Chiefs, and then they just beat – who they just beat? The Packers? Or wait, no. I know they beat the Packers, but they just beat the
they do have that win over the Bills.
Yeah. So.
They just beat Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. They just beat Cleveland. I know Deshaun Watson's out, but, yeah, DTR is not really a great quarterback, but they have one of the best rosters outside of their quarterback in the entire NFL. So, yeah, the Broncos just have looked like a really solid team. I think they will definitely make the playoffs, especially because they're in a really hard division, and they've still proved that they're this good against really good competition. And, yeah, I mean, the Broncos should be around the 6th seed for me, but this is Russell Wilson's comeback right now, and I'm here for it.
Also, I think Russell Wilson is really kind of he's mellowed out a little bit. Last year, he was just getting flamed on the internet and in his post-game interviews, but now it seems like his teammates really appreciate him and believe in him as a quarterback, and it's made them a better team. And he's always believed in his team. There's a post-game interview after they're 1-3 or whatever their record was. He said, "I believe in this team. We're gonna be a good team. We're gonna have a good season." And he's really kind of found his place in this Denver Broncos offense, and he's really succeeding. And personally, I'm happy for him, and I think Francis is too. Mm-hmm. He was great with the Seahawks, and we know he's a great quarterback. That's why everyone was so shocked when he did poorly in his first season with Denver. So this isn't really a surprise to me. I knew this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Russ is a good quarterback. He's a good leader, despite what Marshawn Lynch was saying, if you guys saw that interview.
I did.
But yeah, it seems like his teammates like him and appreciate him, and he definitely likes and appreciates his teammates, and he's been playing some great football. So he's been the key to the Broncos' success. Their defense is great as well, offensive line. All the units are kind of thriving, even if they don't have the most skilled players like his wide receivers, but he's making them look great. He's doing a great job. Yeah, great job to Russ.
Yeah, like on extending Peter's point, Russell Wilson, when he was on the Seahawks, every single game, my jaw would just be dropped by his ability to extend the play. Like, I would always talk about it with my dad, that Russell Wilson's ability to extend the play is like nobody I've ever seen. It's better than Patrick Mahomes. When he was in his prime, it's better than Patrick Mahomes, and honestly, it's the best I've ever seen in NFL history. And that might have a little bias to it, but in some sense, it's true.
I agree.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, his ability to extend the play with his legs, like his pocket presence and his awareness in the pocket and his ability to roll out of the pocket and just throw a ball 50 yards downfield right into the breadbasket of, like, his wide receivers. It was amazing to watch. And when he got injured and came back, it was really hard to see, but I knew it was because of injury. When he went to the Broncos, I was in my classroom and I dropped my phone and I, started screaming. But I saw he went to the Broncos. I was really sad, but then I was so surprised. And everybody was... My parents are rooting against him on the Broncos, and a lot of people I know are rooting against him, but I was rooting for him, to be honest. And I was really shocked and sad to see how poorly he's playing on the Broncos. But it's been so long since he's played this kind of quality football, and I honestly forgot how Russell Wilson, how elite he can possibly be. So, yeah, I mean, I guess this should be no surprise, but it's been really surprising for me. But I really love to see it, that he's still has the ability to be an elite quarterback, even though he's dealt with injuries and he's dealing with age as well. But, yeah, happy for Russell. All right, Peter, we're going to talk about our Seattle Seahawks. It's been really disappointing the past couple of weeks, but I know we've been on a Geno hate train, but, I mean, okay, what do you think is the answer to our problems right now?
Speaking of that Geno hate train, I'm going to have to hop on it right now. He's just been absolutely horrible. Like, We saw a flash of this last year, but when I'm watching the game, I just get so frustrated. It's the exact opposite of Russell Wilson. It's like he runs into the defense to try and take a sack. It's just so frustrating. And he's so indecisive with the football, and that's why he takes so many sacks. It's not the offensive line's fault, it's his fault because he does not get rid of the ball. And he does not throw to our star receiver, DK Metcalf, and that's why he's going to leave in free agency. The Seahawks desperately need to make a change at quarterback. They need to. Otherwise, they're just going to be a mid or bad team forever, and they're going to get killed by actual good teams like the 49ers. The Seahawks are, I'm a huge fan, but it's looking grim for the next couple weeks of the season. And our schedule's brutal, and we've seen how Geno plays against good teams. Just getting absolutely cooked by the Ravens, getting embarrassed by the 49ers. It's just... He's not a good quarterback, and in my opinion, they should trade up in the draft. They should maybe, or if Jaden Daniels, depending on where he goes in the draft, if he's there in the late teens, I would go grab him, have him sit behind Geno for a little bit. I think that he has potential to be a great quarterback, as we've seen his Heisman level performance in college. He would be miles better than Geno. He has way more potential. When I see Geno, he just doesn't have any potential to do well at all. He's just super mid. He reminds me of Bo Nix. And he reminds me of Bo Nix, except he's not decisive and he likes taking sacks. So it's just he's been detrimental to the Seahawks. Our defense has been solid. That against the 49ers, it was pretty bad. But Devin Witherspoon, Defensive Rookie of the Year, to me, there's really no question there. I don't think Jalen Carter's close. The Seahawks have a ton of great players, but they're just not being used effectively. Jackson Smith and Jigaba, we all saw that catch. That's just one of the cleanest catches I've ever seen. He just sticks his hand out. It's like he's not even trying.
And he was turned around.
Just threw his hand out there. Not a great throw from Geno, but he makes it happen. But we can't rely on our receivers making an incredible play every single play, because it's not. We need our quarterback to deliver good throws and make good reads, which he has not been doing. So the key to success starts with moving on from Geno. That's all I have to say. What are your thoughts on this whole Seahawks debacle, Francis?
Yeah, I would say the simple answer and the biggest answer is definitely to replace Geno with a rookie quarterback. But right now, I think it's definitely the answer, besides Geno Smith, is to fire Shane Waldron. And
oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that, but Francis will talk about it.
Yeah, the play calling has just been terrible lately. It's just been terrible. I know Peter is too, but I'm just watching the games, and I'm tearing up because I'm so disappointed, and I'm just so sad and depressed. I'm thinking about the potential that our team could have. On paper, we have one of the best rosters in the NFL, especially offense-wise. We have the best weapons in the NFL, one of the best wide receiver corps in the NFL, one of the best running back rooms in the NFL, a really good offensive line when they're healthy, but they're not right now. But that's not Shane Waldron's fault. But still, his play calling has been so bad and so predictable, and defenses just read it. We've just been doing little screen passes, little check downs, and little plays that Geno Smith can't. He never execute. Yeah, he can't execute it. He doesn't know how to succeed in this offense, and we need to adapt an offense where Geno can be successful. And with the receivers that we have, we only target DK Metcalf. We barely target JSN or Tyler Lockett or Jake Bobo, which we have three other amazing wide receivers that we can add. JSN could be the wide receiver one, and Tyler Lockett and JSN could be the wide receiver one on a bunch of other teams, and yet they're just getting single-digit targets while DK Metcalf gets every single target. And DK Metcalf's amazing, but defenses see this coming, and then they either double-team him or just put their best cornerback on him or play zone on him. And it's really hard it's even hard for Geno in this situation. I don't really blame Geno for that, even though he's not really good at progressing through his reads and just going at his reads. He really just stares them down, just goes right to him, which is really predictable. He gets the ball batted down a lot, and his pass is broken up, and his pocket presence is just some of the worst I've ever seen. But Yeah, Shane Waldron needs to find some plays, like some crossing routes maybe could help a lot, that really utilize the amount of weapons we have. Use Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the pass game more. But yeah, it's just been really, really, really hard. It's been a really tough watch the past couple games with the play calling on offense. But a bright side has been our defense, Our defense has looked good. Condre Dix has stepped it up the past couple games, making some good tackles. Jamal Adams has been stepping it up a little bit. Tariq Woolen got benched, slightly due to injury, but slightly due to his gameplay. But, we've seen what he can do. Yeah. His play on the field. And then Devin Witherspoon has just been looking like one of the best cornerbacks in the league. That was the most valuable pick in the draft this year, for sure. Devin Witherspoon, number 5 pick. That's just another John Schneider masterclass this draft. But, yeah, Shane Waldron and Geno Smith, they got to go. So, yeah. All right, finally, let's just go right into our game. I mean, Peter is not looking too good right now with 1 point. I have 15 points. But let's go over last episode's picks. So I got Seahawks over Commanders as my lock, and I got that right. So that's 1 point. And then my 2 underdogs, I had Jaguars over 49ers, which didn't hit. But then Vikings over Saints did hit, so that's 3 points. Or is it 3 or 2?
2.
No. Yeah, it's 2. It's 2. And then so that's 3 points for me. So I got 18 points right now. And then Peter went 2 for 3 as well. His lock, Cowboys over Giants, hit. Raiders over Jets hit. And then Titans over Bucks did not hit. So he got 3 points too, which is 4. He's at 4 points. So currently 18-4. Not looking too good for Peter, but hopefully he can make it. Not hopefully for me, but I want to make it a little competitive. We still got some time in the season left, so we'll try to make this a little competitive. So with my picks, I'm going with my lock is the Lions over the Saints. Lions they have the best record in the NFC, right? Yeah. They have the best record in the NFC.
Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles. They have the second best record in the NFC. They've looked really solid, even though the Seahawks beat them earlier in a complete shootout. But yeah, the Saints have looked pretty bad lately, and their defense coming into the season looking like a top 5 defense, but they're currently playing like a bottom 10 defense right now. So the Lions should be able to easily win this game. I'm thinking like at least a 2-score game, probably 3-score. I say they beat them by 17. I got the Titans over the Colts. Colts are favored in this one by 1 point. The Titans, I think they just need to utilize Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears more, not really go to the passing game as often, and they should be fine. Their defense has looked pretty solid this season, and the Colts really just aren't there offensively. They got Gardner Minshew starting, and their defense is just below average. I got the Broncos over the Texans. The Texans and Broncos are both hot right now. The Texans were not projected to do anything this season, and currently they're looking like they got a top 5 quarterback on their hands, and he's going to be probably the future best quarterback in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is still young. But if Patrick Mahomes leaves early, then CJ Stroud, the NFL is in his hands. But yeah, the Broncos have just been too hot lately for me not to pick them and have faith in Russell Wilson and his experience over CJ Stroud's inexperience in the Texans. How about you, Peter?
All right, so with my picks, we gotta win here. We gotta get all 3 of these. So starting off with, actually going to start for the underdogs here. So I'm going to go Eagles over Niners. To me, this is a coin flip of a game. I know the Eagles almost lost to the Bills, who are a 500 team, although their record is a lot worse than they actually are. The Eagles, to be honest, really should have lost that game, but they're still the best team in the NFC, in my opinion. I don't know how they're the underdog in this game. Jalen Hurts, he's been playing like an MVP this season. He's such a good leader of the football team. All the players love him. He's has that great connection with A.J. Brown, which is super important. And he's the better quarterback than Brock Purdy by miles. And the Eagles' offensive line is a great matchup against that Niners D-line. So that's going to be a battle in the trenches there. I feel like the Niners D-line will get the edge, being that it is, easily the best defensive line in the league. But Hurts has that mobility that Brock Purdy does not have, and that's going to come clutch for the Eagles, and they're going to win this game. Moving on to my next upset, I'm going to have the Browns over the Rams. this is kind of crazy that the Browns are the underdogs in this game because they are 7-5 and the Rams are below 500. So we have to go with the Browns in this game. They are starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's not a great quarterback. But the Browns, Deshaun Watson isn't really that great of a quarterback anymore either. So that's not super important to them. Matthew Stafford hasn't been playing super well this season. Cooper Kupp has been absolutely horrible since those 2 games. The first 2 games he did pretty well since he came back from an injury, and since then he has just been doing very bad. He's kind of been proving that he's an average receiver. Basically, Puka has just stepped into his shoes. He has that connection with Stafford, and Cooper Kupp's kind of just, he's fallen down. I don't really know what's going on with him. But yeah, so got to go with the Browns in this game. Their defense is better. The Rams, I mean, they're a decent team. They beat the Seahawks. Their defense is pretty good, but yeah, I think the Browns take this one, even though they are the upset. And then, with my lock finally coming in last, I'm going to go with the Steelers over the Cardinals. Francis kind of took the obvious lock, but the Steelers just fired Matt Canada. They had their first 400-yard passing offense, or first 400-yard offense game since in like 3 years after they fired Matt Canada, who, by the way, was the worst offensive coordinator I think I've ever seen. Just all the players hated him. His play calling was horrible. It's so hard to even comprehend if you haven't watched the Steelers play with him without him. He just misused every single player. Najee Harris, George Pickens especially. So the Steelers looked like a completely different team, and they had a great record before this. They beat the Ravens, who were looking like one of the best teams in the league. So the Cardinals, they're a pretty poor team. They don't even have, they don't really have that much going on. They got Kyler, who has been playing well. I've been saying that I don't know why people have just kind of forgotten about Kyler. He's a wonderful quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He makes great plays with his legs. He just, he's a little bit, well, not a little bit. He's on the smaller end. So I feel like that's why people want to move on from him. They see Caleb Williams, they want to grab him. I wouldn't be too against that. Caleb he's the best quarterback in this draft class. So, but moving away from that, the Steelers take this game easily. Offense and defense are better than the Cardinals. It's not even really a question. If I lose this game, you guys can flame me, but they're not going to lose.
That's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening completely. If you made it this far, make sure to listen to all our other episodes.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for listening. Follow our Instagram accounts and TikTok accounts like we said in the beginning. And thank you guys for listening. Peace.